This time Martin Odegaard.
Zinchenko from Ketchiate, it's 4. Martinelli tiptoeing in. Predatory, perfect. There is a gorgeous arrogance about Arsenal now.
It really is. They are enjoying every second of this.
Hello and welcome to Not Another Arsenal Podcast, aka the Hector Bellerin of Arsenal Podcast. My name is Mike Hers, your host. Today, boys, we're going to talk about the massive win. We haven't had this in a while, to be completely honest, but 5-0 versus Leeds. Tons of goals all over the place. Max Dowman got his first few minutes within the league, shattering Chris, mine, and Kelly's prediction already. We're not looking too good on the prediction list already, Chris. Injuries, of course, that's why we're referring and calling this podcast Bittersweet. And of course, last but not least, the Eze announcement that has garnished a lot of positivity, and dare I say, unite factions within our fan base. But then fucking media, legacy media, I would say, more than rival fans, actually, I think they're just absolutely refusing to allow us to be happy for some very odd reason. But first and foremost, as I always like to say, the introductions. Chris, welcome back, Chris.
Hello, guys. It's good to be back. Good to have John on again. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Four-man pod. We've almost forgotten what it's like to have four voices competing for attention. So
Yes.
this might be like a 6-hour pod. Who knows? I don't know. See where it goes.
Marathon.
I'm good. I'm a little bit tired. My dog decided to vomit all last night during the middle of the night, and so I'm on a lack of sleep. But I'm going to do my best to hang in there because we got some exciting things to talk about. A lot of things to talk about, and should be good.
Is your dog named Levy? Just vomiting all over his room, causing all sorts of problems of his own making?
No, she's not.
Okay,
Good try though. It's a good one though. I like it.
Almost got it.
Almost there.
Almost
Kelly,
there.
welcome back, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's nice to. We haven't had a scoreline like this in a little bit, I don't think. So it's nice to see a 5 rip, and in all the things that I was bitching about on social media the last couple of weeks about not having ambition and not doing those extra things. We're on the way to poof gone, which is nice. So as you guys know, I very much like being wrong when it is beneficial to Arsenal, and this seems like one of those times. God help us. We might.
It's only when we go big, Kelly. Does the club show us, another face and make us look stupid? Don't they?
The club loves to make me look foolish, and if it's in this particular way, that's very, very good. Very, very well, Arsenal. Yeah. You win this round.
Absolutely. And last but not least, our featured guest for the night, John, aka Arsenal Nova on the Twitter sphere. John, welcome, John.
Hello. It is nice to be back, and I see Mike already in the comments. But yeah, thanks for having me. We do have a lot to talk about. I was pretty interested to see where we would go after last week, and yeah, it turned out pretty well for us. So it's exciting. A lot to talk about.
It's funny. I feel like the chat read my mind because I'm seeing a lot of comments like Sebi looks horrible and Chris saying Sebi grew some hair. And I was kind of thinking, I'm like, okay, light complected glasses. If I could just get John to go bald, from the side, like I'll be like, it's practically Sebi.
If you pay me enough. If you pay me enough.
I was going to say, if you invite him on the show long enough, he'll probably lose all his hair eventually.
Yeah. Supporting Arsenal would do that to you. That's for sure.
Yeah, between lack of sleep and just the stress of trying to get a word in edgewise, like, God help you. It'll make your hair fall out.
Absolutely. All right, let's get this show on the road. As always, we like to start starting 11, ask a few questions about people who started, people who didn't start in this circumstance. Let two ones that stick out for me is Calafiori and Madueke. We'll start off with Madueke. John, as the guest, you have the honor of getting this ball rolling. And if you want, as you give us the Madueke breakdown that you want to give us, feel free to talk about Martinelli, because I feel like it's an interesting discussion to have since, his absence, I guess, speaks volumes, I would say, if you believe in what you want to believe in, I guess. Have at it, John.
Yeah, thank you. Well, yeah, Madueke is pretty interesting because I coped with the signing. I was like, probably not my first choice, but let's see if Arteta sees something in him and the club believes in him and they go all out that much for him. Let's give him a fair shot, clean slate. Let's see what he has to offer. When I got past that and started kind of thinking about what he would do for us, because I guess the assumption was naturally that he would be a Saka, someone that could rotate with him and, give him some time off when he needed it and that kind of thing. But I'm not sure paying that much for Madueke, would they say that he would be a, mainly rotational player? I feel like he would have more of a starting role in the squad. So with the trouble that we've had on the left, now for a little while, I thought, you know what, there's a chance that he might do that. He might be our left-handed starter, especially with Trossard and Martinelli leaving it wide open for him. I mean, it's there for the taking moving into the season and everything, especially with the show in last week against United from Martinelli. I thought for sure. I wasn't at all surprised to see him there. And he did end up doing pretty well, in my opinion. But as far as Martinelli goes, in jest, in some of the group chats and stuff, I'll say, the final straw for Arteta was when Martinelli on the transition passed straight out of bounds right over Odegaard. I was like, that was the final straw. We're never going to see Martinelli again. And
yeah, you did this.
Is there a space here to be able to call the club or Arteta or whoever is ultimately in charge of this? At this point, they might be a little sentimental. I guess we would need to know whether that Martinelli rumors from the last few weeks were actually true about clubs, talking to Arsenal about him potentially. And we would need to know if there were offers, did he decline them personally, or did the club say, no, we're not quite ready to get rid of him yet? We need to know this, but it's very interesting. I will say that he didn't get a run out, because Arteta, I think, historically has said, if I know I'm going to use Martinelli this weekend against Liverpool, I would give him the last 30 minutes of the match, but he brought Trossard on instead. So I think, to me, that's pretty significant.
I like it. Yeah, on that. So we have a gentleman that's often in the live chat with us named Avreu, and from his Brazilian perspective, if you will, John, he claimed the exact same thing when the Saudi links with Gabriel kept on going away, and some of the links that got brought up with Martinelli, heavily Middle East, right? And his whole take on Gabriel was, guys, I'm 100% sure there's no Brazilian that is close to being within the Brazilian national team setup that will ever sacrifice their international career, because in Brazil, making the national team is the peak of their careers. So
yes.
If the rumors were correct, like you said, they're just circulating. If it was in fact Saudi, I personally, outside perspective, we obviously don't know things that happen within the board. 100%, I think the player was like, guys, I'm sorry, I can't do that. Like I'm willing to believe that he's at that stage where he's kind of like, hey man, I'm not gonna just sacrifice my career for that one. Mikey brings up Neymar, but Neymar he's kind of 1 foot out, my friend. He's in
hilariously, Rodrigo is torching his own international reputation to stay at Real Madrid and just sit on the bench the whole time, which I find to be very anti-Brazilian in that way.
What's
anti-Brazilian, and what I find fascinating, that because the memes are that the international manager doesn't like him. The funny part there is, of course, is Carlos Ancelotti, the man that used to manage
his
him,
former manager at Real Madrid
club. Yeah, and the joke was like the Brazilian manager, aka Ancelotti, said, no, we can't bring you up because you're not getting enough minutes at the club, and it's him the whole time.
Yeah.
What were you going to chime in with, Kelly?
What's interesting about that is that, like, Mikey, you and I, again, the euphemism for most of you are returning and are part of our little clique here, but Mike and my euphemism for Martinelli not being very good is tell him to go play wing back in Italy. So we can run fast in a straight line, but not have to make a lot of decisions and not be very intricate. Basically, do what Nuno Tavares did last year for Lazio, which made him one of the most effective attacking fullbacks in Europe. Because literally, run down the line, Nuno, cross with your left foot, pull it back, cross it with your right foot, run hard, don't do anything else, and that can be effective in Italy because it's a slower pace and there's a lot of back threes and all that type of stuff. I agree with you. I think in a World Cup year where Brazil is pretty soft on the wings, and we're talking Richarlison center forwards, it's kind of too early for Estavio and Endrick, so they're kind of in between generations, I think now. So there's a real chance that even Martinelli, with being an irregular starter and impact sub, could be getting real minutes in the World Cup and certainly be on the plane. And yeah, that going to Saudi Arabia it'll make him a lot of money, but it'll kill that. And we got to understand too with Martinelli, as I get sympathetic towards him too, he came over here when he was 17 years old. His entire family lives here. I think if he's not married yet, he has a long-term girlfriend that seems to be very prominent in his life. So those type of people don't necessarily, and he's on an exorbitantly high wage for his output too, because we paid him for what we thought he was going to be after that 15-goal season, and he just really didn't live up to it. So he makes a lot of money. He lives in London. He's one of those. He has a London accent now because he got here so early in his life. He doesn't want to go, and maybe it's something that he could be persuaded to go, but not with the World Cup looming. So it becomes about finding a place for him. Really, this is really stupid. I bet if he goes anywhere, my guess is that he's loan with a buy option or a buy obligation somewhere, and some sort of a loan fee so that he can play. Whether that, again, might be Italy, somewhere like that, but I don't know that anybody is going to pay us real money for him that he would go to. Because he has the contract control. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. What's up, John?
I'm sorry, but I had never considered that at all as an option until I just listened to you say, actually, that's fair. And that might do him a lot of good. It might do him a lot of good. You could tell from the way he was playing, so far since we've seen him, since they came back into training camp, I believe even. It just has not gotten better. It's actually gotten worse and worse. You can tell he's kind of struggling confidence-wise right now. Yeah. And I do feel for him. I'm sentimental. I love the kid as well. But we also have to be realistic about what the expectations are, and he's not meeting the Foggin-esque standards, I did an Italian thing, and yeah, anyway.
He's an Italian heritage. He's Brazilian, but with Italian heritage, so you're good.
Yeah. So, it's he's got to, I think that would do him a lot of good. That's a great idea.
But it's about placing him intelligently too. The biggest thing is that he is a valuable asset. And so obviously, I think the club, it's saying it's pretty clear that they're moving past him in that position, especially if they were going to be playing Eze off the left. And we'll talk about this. They hit Piero Hincapié coming in too, and Calafiori bounding around. The left side is undergoing some changes deliberately, and so it's taking it even further away from him. So if you can get a good price for him and not have to pay any sort of wages, or he'll agree to something, that's one thing. But I don't think he's ready to be done yet, and he has a real affinity for the club and an affinity for the city and for the fans and everything. So, but I think because we don't have a lot of successful loans, so we are terrible at using the loan market, right? But if we're good at what happens in a good loan is you get a loan fee, you move off of those players' wages, they go and have a great time, they have a great experience somewhere, they succeed a lot in a sporting way. It's like Lukaku leaving Manchester United and going back to Italy and just smashing Italy and having a great experience at Inter, going there and getting 2 more years of prime superstar when it looked like he was completely dead, getting back in the Belgian national team as a star. All of that stuff happens when you find the perfect loan and the perfect league that suits what your talents are at this stage in your career. And that's maybe that's where Berta can continue to show himself to be more valuable. And truly an elite sporting director is if we're not going to use this player, and if we're moving in a game model and a pattern model away from this type of player on that side, or you say well, if we're going to use that, we're just going to, Madueke is better at you than that, so we're just going to use you for that if we need that. I think there needs to be a resolution other than him playing like less than 1,000 minutes overall comps this year. That's bad. That's a really bad use of that resource because he's gonna be sat like moping around. He's on a huge wage and he's not going to get called up for Brazil. So like, I think that stuff might be happening here with him in the last week.
Yeah, and don't forget his best friend, or historically his best friend, is also probably out as well. And I don't know if there's any kind of misery loves company thing. I don't want to say that because I think he's good, but our left hand side now, I was thinking, is kind of just going through a renaissance. It's changing up a little bit. We saw the evolution of the triangles originally on the right side from White and Saka and Odegaard, and this may be the renaissance over here on the left, where we get some kind of version of that, where our left side is the thing that makes us tick this season. Or I even saw earlier on X that somebody posted playing Liverpool with the squad that we could potentially have available is something of Zubimendi and Rice together lower in the midfield with a free role for Eze as number 10 and Martinelli on the left. So I don't know, but it seems that we will see a new version over there on the left, which is pretty exciting. I want to see how that functions.
I love those starting lineups because I know a lot of people have been asking for 4-2-3-1, and I think that double pivot of Zubimendi and Rice is kind of enticing to a lot of people. But at the same time, I'm sure if you ask Mikel Arteta this, and I think he's been asked in the past, he'll say we play 123 formation throughout the game. So he's on some other level of football analysis that I don't even want to dare to pretend to understand. But sticking with the left-hand side flank, Chris, you want to talk about our left back selection as of late? 2 games in a row, Ricardo Calafiori is starting. Look, it's only a shock to me because of how much how much vibes and how good Miles Lewis-Skelly was doing towards the end of the season. I kind of expected him to be the starting left back. Do you think this is Mikel Arteta potentially pulling him out of the limelight and saying, hey, somehow you got this bad reputation, you're getting carded a lot, maybe you need to take a step back. Calafiori is healthy, he could take over the mantle. Or do you think it's strictly down to football? Is just Ricardo Calafiori kind of the player that Mikel Arteta prefers to start, and he's ahead of the pecking order, if you will, for left back for the Arsenal?
Calafiori is our unicorn. He is
kind of looks like one.
Yeah, he looks like an Italian thoroughbred, doesn't he?
Majestic.
The hair, the cheekbones, all of it. Yeah, you can't even profile him because there's nobody to compare him to in world football. Nobody plays the position he plays in the way that he plays it because no one else plays that position that way. And I think that's why Arteta likes him a lot, because he is the kind of anti-Arsenal player in a way, in terms of how we have been playing over the past couple of years. We've been really structured. It's been a very distinct way that we've set up, where we positioned ourselves, how our left backs played, where they tuck into midfield. And he's the guy that, for whatever reason, has been given free license by Arteta to roam, to vacate that left back space, that kind of deeper midfield space, and attack from different angles and different positions. You'll see him sometimes inhabiting that kind of prototypical left 8 role. Sometimes you'll see him overlapping on the left. Sometimes you'll see him roaming into areas where Odegaard loves to inhabit. And the thing is that he is by trade a center back, but in many ways he looks like an attacking midfielder or even a winger, because of the way he can strike the ball, the way that he disguises his dribbles and his passing, the way he can shoot. There's just nobody like him. So I think what Arteta, to answer your question, Mike, I think there's a lot going on here. One is that I think we didn't want to play Miles Lewis-Skelly as much as we did last year because he's young, but I think we had to because Calafiori was injured, Tomiyasu was injured, Zinchenko, unreliable, don't trust him, can't really play the way we want to play anymore. Timber was hurt, who can sometimes play on the left. So really, we kind of had to make it work with Miles. And I think this is in part trying to protect his young career by not having him play day in and day out and take some of the pressure off him. Just say, hey, young man, sit over here on the bench. Let's chill for a moment. Your time's coming, but we don't need to burn you out so early. But I think too, tactically, I think there's a couple of really interesting things going on. One is that you can't track an inverted left back's run in the way that Calafiori does it. So he's really hard to mark. And he pops up in areas you don't expect, and he creates unique overloads in a way that surprises defenses. So it's just really hard movement to defend, which I think is attractive in a way because we've played in such a predictable way for the last year or year and a half that I think we're trying to become more unpredictable. And I give credit to Arteta that I think he realizes that perhaps this team has been a bit overcoached or over choreographed, and we need a player like him. And to be fair, I think Eze's kind of cut from the same cloth, just playing in different spaces on the pitch, where he's a bit of a maverick. He's a bit of a chaos agent. You're not quite sure what he's going to do. He breaks your structure. And that's actually a good thing because it means that teams can't just predict the next movement and outcome and sit and wait for you to do the thing that they expect you to do. So I think there's a lot of that going on. And then just tactically, I think what he's done with Rice and Zubimendi as a really balanced, and I think you used the word pivot, Mike, and I think there's something to that. I don't think it's a 4-2-3-1 in particular. I think it's just that whenever Calafiori starts doing his gallivanting runs moving forward, I think Rice stays back and he sits in that space that Calafiori vacates, so that if we lose the ball, Declan Rice, who is off the ball, maybe the best midfielder in the world, can just sweep up any balls that come loose. He can defend 1v1. He's quick. He loves a duel. He can defend space. I can't think of a better player there to just take over for where Calafiori is leaving and let Calafiori, he's basically the platform that allows Calafiori to do the thing that he does best, because Rice can cover all the things that Calafiori leaves behind. And so from a tactical standpoint, it's a kind of a brilliant setup in that way. And I'm really curious to see, now that we have Eze on board, does Calafiori continue to play, or do we not need two on the same side? Do we play more of a Miles when Eze plays either on the left wing or the left 8 position? Because I can't imagine until I probably see it how a left side works with an Eze who's very, again, kind of maverick and chaotic and unpredictable, along with a Calafiori doing kind of a similar thing from deeper. So one to watch there. I think it's going to be super interesting.
Absolutely. We're going to get to the goals, but like Kelly, I feel the need to give David Raya his flowers. He had a few really good saves versus, or a lot of saves, if you will, versus United. Some really good ones where he was really forced. This one right before our 5 goals, and I do think we would have ultimately ended up winning the game. It would have been maybe just a game of a different context, and maybe not as festive and as open as a 5-goal game that led us to be. But coming from Leeds, one of their only attacks within the first half entirely, actually, after we took place. But corner, brilliant header, a lot of pace behind the ball, brilliant save, just reflexes from David Raya just to tip it over to the corner. Brilliant to know that, no pun intended, he's not staring at pigeons. And he's razor off focus, and I think a small criticism that some people might have thrown his way, because he's always been praised for his distribution, but was his shot stopping skills. And as of lately, my goodness, this man has had an insane amount of highlight stops, if you will. So just adding one more to the list, crucial part of the game. I understand it versus Leeds, and maybe it would have ended up being favorable for us, but ultimately it's kind of nice to keep that clean sheet. Yeah.
Yeah. I think maybe it's us as Arsenal fans and just kind of our doom and gloom in our history, but it really seems like scoring the first goal is of massive importance to us. And I think hopefully that'll become less of a sticking point, that if we give up the first goal, it's like, oh God, this is going to be a struggle just to get anything from this match, or we're going to have to claw it out. Basically, it's I think come from the fact that we've been pretty poor at unlocking low blocks, and even big teams will score the first goal and sit on us. And we've really struggled to go on that. So historically, again, my hope now is with some of the patterns we have now and some of the players we have available, that will be less of a concern. If we concede the first goal, it's not going to be, oh my God, this is going to be an absolute slog now the rest of the way. Like, we should be able to get an equalizer, but how are we going to get a win here? How are we going to manufacture that? I don't think that's going to be the case as much, but in the last couple of years it has been. So making that big save, making that save that you're not supposed to, or we don't expect to get to, is a really big deal. And I think something that Raya has shown is that he's by and large, he's able to succeed in both types of games where he's getting shelled, which doesn't happen very often, but if he's active, he can stay engaged and he's not making a bunch of flubs. And in matches that basically sunk Ramsdale when we got better, was that when you don't touch the ball a ton, you have to stay engaged and stay ready for your moments. And he has one of the more impressive leaps of any, that kind of first step leap that he can go horizontal, vertical with. I think that's an underrated part of his game, that he's in, like, for a 6 foot tall goalkeeper, he has incredible coverage of the upper part of his goal. He moves his feet really quickly. He has just tons of bounce. And that's kind of a Raya special, something that he can make a quick reaction to that involves him getting off of his toes quickly and launching over. And Strike had to be heartbroken because Leeds knew that they were not going to get a lot of cracks at it, so they had to be really, really efficient. They found a good center back open in the box early enough to be able to get some momentum, and it was just a great save that palmed over. And I think that was their first shot. Was that their only shot on target the entire match? I know there was some obscene amount of time where they basically didn't even attempt a shot on target for like minute 30 for the rest of the match. I think like they literally didn't attempt a shot, where there was like a 0 XG. It was something insane like that. But I mean, it sinks goalkeepers when they have to stand there, or when they can't engage and they can't get their hand on the ball. And it doesn't seem to bother him. It's something that we can go in and dominate them at home, and he can stay completely engaged and ready to go with his feet and with his hands. And that's really, really valuable. And I just don't, there's not a lot of guys in the league that you trade him for right now. Like, who are you trading him for? I mean, I think Allison's a little bit on the downside now. He's conceding some goals. He's getting a little bit scrambled. He's not looking as confident in the air. Ederson has a foot and a half to Saudi. Like, who else you having? Like, Nick Pope can't kick a football. Like, who else do you take in besides him?
That's a good point.
I still kind of feel that, just because you mentioned the goalkeeper situation, I still, and I know this sounds insane, I still think that Manchester City is downgrading their keeper situation with the inclusion of Gianluigi Donnarumma. And I've explained to you guys why, just because of how Pep Guardiola plays, how Manchester City plays. I never thought he would bring in a keeper so clumsy with his feet.
Why?
It doesn't make just a shot stopper.
Why wouldn't they have gotten Joan Garcia? Why wouldn't City have bought Garcia? They could have just
that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, like if you were going to be put in this situation, Garcia makes so much more sense.
I mean, maybe he said no. Maybe Garcia told City no. We don't know. Do we? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they approached him.
It's Barca, so God knows what
I'm hoping
financial
that Guardiola,
they did. So
yeah, he's probably counting on a lot of penalties. He's like, you know what, it's okay.
If I could say something
in the league as a penalty. Go for it.
About Raya, add a little something on. You know, the most elite players, especially like for Arsenal, we watched Saka, who when he first came in, struggled a little bit with his right foot, and it was probably the weakest part of his game at that time. And he took it and worked on it and went to absolutely elite level with it. And Raya, who, you know, probably there were some kind of reservations about maybe his shot stopping whenever he first arrived. I mean, he's worked on it, and now to me, he's an elite shot stopper, as well as, like, you know, distributor of the ball and somebody who we can turn to for calm and composure. Somebody that understands and has a high game IQ. And to be fair, also, I think Kelly said something about it, is as long as he's been at Arsenal, I can only remember one instance off the top of my head where he got outpowered in the box, you know, coming up to catch something or punch something. Generally, he's very, very good at that. Yeah. So, I mean, to have somebody who's elite level with their feet now become an elite shot stopper, high game IQ. I'm not sure if any other keeper right now in the world that you offered me, I would take. I mean, is Courtois a better keeper?
He keeps
Maybe
blowing
yes,
out his
maybe
ACL,
no,
which
but
doesn't help.
yeah, I wouldn't take him over Raya.
Not
I
with
wouldn't
one
swap him for
ACL, he's
Raya.
not. I'll tell you that much, John.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we're not in an era of Donnarumma has been. Donnarumma is a weird one because his profile has been skewed because of how good he has been internationally for Italy. An international game is just not a game where you're going to have the same type of ball progression, intricate patterns. Big guy, shot stopper, that's kind of who you want for international tournaments. And he was great and I mean, won Italy the Euros. And then he was kind of oddly put in a position in that Champions League run last year where he was just he had to make a lot of reflex saves, and he made them. But I think that was his only real burst of sustained elite play for PSG. I mean, one thing he will say, he's certainly recently been a big game player, big tournament player, has done great things. But I think it's pretty easy to look at those two kind of outliers, right? So the Euros was a couple years ago, and this Champions League run, they were not super satisfied with him at PSG. They haven't, the reason why they're going to fuck him off the City for 40 million, and if the Twitter Avi Bros would lead you to believe he's one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time because their football knowledge goes back about 18 months. You don't move on when you're PSG. You don't move on that player if you're confident that he's an elite player. You go, okay, you say, I can extricate myself from this $500K a week in wages, and I might never have another chance to because nobody else is going to pay me a fee and pay him that. So, yeah, I just he's just a weird throwback goalkeeper that is very good at some things and really, really awful at other stuff. And he cannot kick a football. And basically all of City's goalkeeping recruitment, he threw Joe Hart away because Joe Hart couldn't kick a football either. Ederson has never been a great shot stopper. He's been excellent with his feet. And they're kind of cycling through these guys. And it's why wouldn't you just go get Juan Garcia, who's renowned to be the best two-way goalkeeper in Europe, and he's 23. So it's there's your keeper situation set for the next decade. What are you
There's
doing?
a huge struggle right now in Europe to find. I mean, the amount of elite keepers that are available is not a lot. And there's a lot of teams that have been shuffling and making moves, trying to get it done. And nobody can nail a permanent. It's just Liverpool with Alisson and pretty much us now that have nailed down the right combination that fits our team well. Everybody else is just struggling.
There's a handful of, like you said, too, not just the great, really good goalkeepers or great goalkeepers, but great fits for how individual teams want to play. And there's a handful of those teams and keepers, and there's a really big gap. And then you get into a lot of flawed goalkeepers or good goalkeepers that succeed because they're on bad teams. It's Jordan Pickford has been England's number one for a half decade because he's really good when he's getting shelled, right? But you wouldn't want him in Arsenal's team because he can't stop crosses because he's as short as my 9-year-old, and he can't kick a ball unless he's playing it long. So that's a great fit for a bottom third team like Everton, and again, a good tournament goalkeeper, right? So somebody who's really, really engaged and fiery and is a good shot stopper and all that stuff. That works for international football, and that works for when you're not a very good team and you concede a ton of shots. You want to have a guy who's doing that, but you couldn't. He'd go nuts. He'd wander off the pitch if he had to stand back there for 90 minutes with Arsenal and only be allowed to pass the ball. And
that's what happened to Ramsdale.
Oh yeah, it literally happened to Ramsdale, and Ramsdale is the kind of the kiss of death as far as securing players. But I don't know. It's always funny though. When one thing that Raya does do that does make me laugh. I always call out when he has a touch in the opponent's half, which makes me laugh. The one thing that he does do when he's wound up and hasn't touched it in a while, he will literally wander across midfield to get a touch if he hasn't seen the ball in 20 minutes, which is hilarious to me because I literally do it. If you see in the back, it's Raya touch 5 yards into their half. What a hysterical quirk that if you see his touch map, you'll see these outlier touches in regular play where it's 11 on the 11. like in the middle of the match where Raya has a touch like past the center circle.
The most
You got to stay
wild
engaged,
heat map.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the most wild heat map for a goalkeeper. I love that.
So funny.
Chris, I want to tackle both the Timbers goals in conjunction just because they were both set piece.
Yeah.
I'll let you deal with the tactical smart stuff about this. I'm going to do the social media kind of narrative kind of thing that I like to do. I got to tell you, man, like I don't float around and watch rival fans channels a lot because like I feel like a lot of the commentary that revolves around the Arsenal is really lazy. But the first goal comes in and this one guy from fucking Liverpool shows up, Don Hazan, something like that, and along with some other guy from United.
Oh,
And,
the guy
and
that
literally-
hates Zubimendi.
and fucking it's a long list, but like they scored a set piece FC. It's such fucking lazy commentary, Chris. And that's just my 2 cents about these goals that we're about to discuss. I've never known a team to be really fucking good at set piece and people view it as a negative. And like I gotta tell you guys, social media sometimes it's like drains the joy out of this fucking game because you can't turn it on without the most outrageous fucking criticism being tossed your way. And it's just kind of like I could see why people take breaks from that, just little mental health day and just staying away off the socials because my goodness, man, you could tell that these people are really bitter. You could tell that they're upset with what's going on at their clubs. They'd probably kill for a fucking set piece goal right now at the rate that they're going, and just using it to say, wow, you score at a high percentage rate off a very fucking corner you have. LOL, your shit. Those two things don't match up well for me, Chris. So I don't quite understand it. But yeah, so first one was the header. Second one was a little bit of a lucky rebound, if you will, Chris. Set FC, Chris, talk to me about them.
About the social media thing real quick, Mike. Someone on X this week said, I don't know what it is about you English people, but it always feels like you guys love being miserable and making other people miserable. And I would love for someone who listens to this podcast to tell me, is this like a cultural English thing? Like is misery is misery part of the culture? Because the banter culture in football and like, you know, a team that finishes 15th or 17th last year, throwing in the face of a team who's finished second 3 times in a row as if that's some sort of insult to try and make us feel miserable feels like a thing to me. So that could be part of what we're seeing on social media play out, is that just this idea of misery loves company and people trying to make everybody else feel miserable, people trying to make everybody else feel miserable with them. Who knows? Liverpool fans should behave, because when you look at our underlying stats,
I like that line.
Liverpool had 0.66 XG this past weekend, and we had 2.88. And we had more open play XG than they did total XG in their game against Newcastle. So let's not get it twisted. Yes, we do score and we're really good at set pieces, but I think what we're seeing is in this new evolution of Arsenal is a team that is getting better, improving, hopefully in a way that's going to help us win the title from open play. Creating more chances. This is why Eze is here, because he's another creative force. This is why Gyökeres is here, because he knows how to take the chances that we create and stick them in the back of the net. And we're going to set piece our way and open play our way to a title here really soon. And people aren't going to be able to say shit to any of us, because all of the vulnerabilities, all of the things that we haven't done well, all of the things that have been our kryptonite in the past are becoming no more under this team. So I love that we've got so many bows in our quiver. I think that's the term you might use, where, you know, if strings in our bow. I'm not an archer, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But you guys get what I'm talking about. The idea that, you know, if we're not quite playing well from open play, if maybe the final pass isn't on, or, you know, the opposition is playing a really nasty mid block or low block that we can't break down, arrows in our quiver. Thank you, Gunnerworks. It's late. That we have things like set pieces to rely on. And my God, do we have some monsters in set pieces? I mean, I think it was Arsblog who were talking about, is Declan Rice the best set piece taker, either from corner kicks or just dead ball set pieces from the middle of the pitch since David Beckham? And I think that is an interesting debate to have, because while David Beckham wasn't an elite footballer from open play, my God, that guy, when he got in the ball, and if you put him anywhere near the goal on a set piece, he was going to put it on a dime wherever he wanted to put it. And that's what Declan Rice does from corner kicks. He can put it anywhere he wants. He goes, I want to put it on Timber's head. Timber stands there and it goes right to top of Timber's head. Now, I'm not saying that Timber's execution of that corner was easy. I think it was tough. If you look at the replay, he has to whip his head around so that he basically redirects the ball from, going, back towards where it came from to redirect it to the far post. I mean, it was an excellent conversion of a really, really nice corner kick. But it all starts with Declan Rice's really, really good world-class delivery from his corners that I think allows us to be as good as we are from corner kick set pieces, which I think, again, when we're struggling to score from open play, which thankfully we weren't in this game, we have that arrow in our quiver to rely on. So yeah, it's huge for us. And then we've got obviously guys like Gabriel, who can finish off of a set piece. We've got Calafiori, who did it last game. The guy that we're trying to bring in from Bayer Leverkusen is supposed to be amazing on set pieces. So we just have a ton of guys
mentally ill throwing himself at set pieces. By the way,
can I expand on set piece FC a little bit, if possible?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sorry if I offend any English, but it is the most English thing ever to pride yourself on a history of football that is physical and athletic, and you challenge for things like set pieces, and you fucking roughed each other up, right? And then now all of a sudden that Arsenal become really good at it, it's a sin, right? A little hypocritical, because everybody always talks about the English game, rough, it's athletic, it's pacey, it's intense, get stuck in. And we got stuck in. We got stuck the fuck in. And look how we're treated now. It's all of a sudden a crime. So, hey, man, let's keep it up. It's nice to be back with Set Piece FC because more recently, I think towards the end of the last season, we had dipped a little bit and we weren't scoring as many goals from set pieces anymore. So it's nice to be back again. And there's a lot to be seen in terms of what we'll accomplish this season, putting the ball in the back of the net. But it is very, very comforting at this point to know that we do have that in our locker right now, and we will score in each game. We know at this point we'll go to Anfield this weekend and we're scoring at least one set piece goal. So we're going to be in that game with a chance. All we have to do is come on, ahead and score another one, and we'll probably break them in half by halftime. So anyway, long live Set Piece FC.
Absolutely. And just on the Anfield thing, I gotta tell you, I hate myself for how optimistic I'm feeling about the game. Because normally Chris and Kelly could tell you I don't go into games thinking things are going to be good. So I kind of, it's the hope that kills you, John. But whilst I'm with you, let's talk about Bukayo Saka slightly. We're going to kind of, separate the goals and the injury situation, because I know that unfortunately he wasn't able to finish the game. But just purely on a football standpoint, we just spoke about Timber. He had a really busy day for us at the Emirates versus Leeds, because not only did he contribute for the 2 goals, but he also contributed with the assist. Trademark finish, if you will, John. I mean, we've seen this goal before, yeah?
Yeah, we have. And as I had alluded to earlier, or actually mentioned, that Saka made his right foot elite as well for not only crossing but finishing. So much so that it's not, that finish is not at all surprising. We've seen that finish before. Trademark, like you said, yes. The turn is just such a high IQ turn to receive the ball, little movement with his body to approach the ball, how he strikes it, how he lets it run right before he actually, pulls the trigger. It's just poetry in motion. It's poetry in motion. And that finish was excellent with a weak foot, across the keeper like that in the side netting with such confidence. Amazing. And we will see that hopefully a lot this year. Hopefully a lot. Because I feel like how it's unfortunate, yes, that he did go down. Hopefully it's not as bad as, we'd heard it might not be as bad as we think. But I think we're going to see that a lot this season as well. Especially Gyökeres seems like he likes to favor the center of the box and more on the left side. I've seen him out on the right a couple of times. He does have a license surely to go there, but a lot of times I think him and Saka will both be threats, with Gyökeres coming more from the left, Saka more from the right to attack whatever balls or passes are put in for them. But yeah, Saka looking good.
Very nice. Killy, I had two, I'm going to refer to as childish, intrusive, irrational thoughts this game. One of them was regarding the injuries, so I'll put a pin on it. And the other one was, how I often describe Kai Havertz in a general way, and I say this is why people don't like him. People used to criticize Ozil for his lengthy manner of running, and turns out he was running more kilometers than most. So one of my irrational thoughts today was, I saw Gyökeres pick up the ball, and it was a really fucking difficult goal to score, mind you, because it wasn't a brilliant pass or anything. But I see him touch the ball, and I say to myself, prime fucking Lukaku. I think to myself, I think anti-Henry. That's what I think. Because whatever the equivalent of the graceful SOB that Henry was.
This is
Henry was just gliding through the fucking field with that ball.
He was on ice skates, bro.
He looked fucking beautiful. And then we got Victor Gyökeres. And I just lethal, but not fucking pretty, Kelly.
No.
Take that color commentary as you wish, sir.
So as you know, I'm a good person to be the first person, and then Christian's a good person to be the second person for this, I think. Because I like ugly. I'm a very spiteful,
utilitarian.
I like to ruin things for people is kind of my thing with sports. It's only good if we're that's why I actually like.
That's because you're an insufferable Minnesota fan. That's the problem.
Yeah. I want you to be as miserable as I am, obviously. So
I think you're English. You must be English.
It's pretty English, actually, pretty German English, I guess. But the best thing about that is I think it works in his favor because two things are incongruent. One, he doesn't play like he looks. Again, he's kind of a pretty boy. And so you'd think that he'd be this kind of wayfish, playing with his hair and everything. But he plays a champion, a really functional championship striker where he's putting his head down, just barreling through people, taking really, really efficient touches. And basically he's one of those guys who he's almost the dream of what an American football star center forward would be, or Americans for us, we'll say soccer center forward would be. If you went and did a generation, the best center forward in the history of American soccer, that's who basically it would be. It would be that guy who's really, really efficient, plays really, really ugly and nasty and dirty, and just kind of plays it like American football would be played. So I think that's arresting at first to see the incongruence between what he looks like and how he plays. And then two, you just don't associate Arsenal with that type of football. And I think you can even make you can even legislate or give some defensively they're a lot more rugged now. But like in attack, obviously it's Bukayo Saka, and it's like it's fast and lean and smooth. And there's like, he's fast, but there's nothing lean and smooth about what he does. He's a big, clunky, clumsy, like angry, like try hard striker. But I think that's a pretty nice antidote.
That try hard.
Yeah, like I think he's a pretty nice antidote for some of the other players in the team. And I think how we're going kind of all in this year, a lot of the players that we're bringing in and featuring seem to be good foils for the other traditional Arsenal players in there. And he's just a good foil for the lighter, more technical players around him because he's just a fucking battering ram. And that's one of those that like it's so functional with everything, but we don't score. There's no other player that's played for us recently that scores that goal. Really, that goes and just takes like kind of a knock away. Like Calafiori just kind of loops it over the top. And I think it was Stillman that said it's an Arsenal vision where it happened so close after halftime. They probably went back and said, he's making all these runs. You better pass him the fucking ball. Just whack. It doesn't have to be a perfect pass. Just whack it out there for him. And so Calafiori just kind of blindly whacks it out into the channel. He picks it up and just runs by the first guy because he's faster than he looks. Runs through two guys that were going, and then he just beautifully hacks in, like ratchets in a near post finish that unsights and wrong foots the goalkeeper that nobody could stop. Like unstoppable goal. But it's so functional and so un-Arsenal that it's almost shocking to watch. And so
it's almost it's almost like the defenders are like the first defender he approaches him and says like, oh, there's no way he'll make it past me, and then he makes it past, and then the other guy's like kind of casual, like he won't get to me, and I'm gonna cover this, but I may not have to make the shot, and then all of a sudden he's past you. And it was like a calamity from the defenders too. It's
like watching Marshawn Lynch in his prime, where it's like, well, he's not going to get past me. Well, he's not going to get through me. Well, he's certainly not going to get through me. Right, and it's like, it's that type of thing where it's like, you try to stop him one-on-one and he kind of isn't, he's not going around you as much as he's going through you. And when you're inelegant in your movement and you're really functional, I think especially in a league where there's a disproportionately large amount, even though it's still rugged and still English football, like there's an awful lot of techers in our league now. And there's an awful lot of 120-pound wide forwards that want to sprint. There's a lot of there's more Matomas and there's a lot more false nines. And I mean, for every Chris Wood, there's a lot, there's Isaks and Ekatikes and these kind of languid, like technical kind of like Gumbies kind of bouncing around. And so I think, again, somebody who just doesn't give a fuck about anything besides scoring goals and going the soonest distance that he can put, like it's a straight line between him and where he wants to shoot from. And when he gets there, he's going to shoot. I think he's going to make an interesting antidote for Arsenal-ish. And even how he takes his penalty, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. There's no hop. There's no skip. There's no eyes. It's just bashing the fuck out of the ball as hard as you can near the corner. And it's like, I don't know, man. I like it. I watched an awful lot of center forwards pillow foot around this place. Like I run through some people and whack the ball in the goal, son. That's just fine.
You did an excellent job, Kelly, of describing the contrast between his game and what we see in the rest of the squad, but also in what we've come to know Arsenal in the way how Arsenal plays in the modern game. BX made a good point. Or maybe it was Gunnerworks that said, pillow foot, kind of light, but really technical, kind of, 11 midfielders all over the pitch is more of like a mid to late stage Arsene Wenger kind of a approach or a style. Like we weren't always like that. We had a lot of brutes in Wenger's heyday. You had a really hard man in Patrick Vieira in midfield, and you had Tony Adams and Sol Campbell, and you had big center backs, and then you had, mentally but also physically tough players up top who are also very elegant and technical up at the top of the pitch. But you see Arsenal's current team, and for the most part, you've got quite a few beautiful players in it. And then you've got this Gyökeres who is a guy who never blinks, and like it looks like he's got toothpicks holding his eyes open like the entire time, like he's going to burn a hole through his soul if you look at him for too long, because the intensity that comes off this guy, He's not warm. He's not like a teddy bear. You're not going to want to go up and give him a hug. But that's not really what you want from your striker if what you need from him is goals, and you need someone to be incisive, and you need someone to want to, rip the shit out of the ball and put it in the back of the net, because that's the only thing he cares about doing. And I have to admit, like, that's not my style. If I had my druthers and we also could win and win everything, I'd want a technically elegant player on the ball, but that's not who we have. And right now, that's not who we need. We need a player who's very single-minded in what he does and how he does it. And I believe that's who we have. Mm-hmm. So much so that, to your point, Kelly, there's no player I can think of in the modern era of Arsenal that scores that goal that he scores from open play. We just haven't had one who just does not give a shit who's there. He's going to take the ball, dribble on a few guys, and put it in the back of the net, even in your near post. He does not care. So I like it. I like it from that standpoint, even as I watch it and I go, man, it doesn't look, appearance wise, it doesn't look like it fits all together. But when you win 5-0, how can you really complain? And if we continue to win and we continue to rack up points and we win the league because Gyökeres scores 20 plus goals, no one's going to care. No one's going to care that he was elegant or pretty to look at. What we're going to care about is that his 20 plus goals won us the league. And honestly, we're at the point in Arsenal's evolution where that's what we need. We got to stop caring about the aesthetics. We got to start caring about the outcome.
And also, too, this is the type of game that I think you buy Gyökeres for more than the games against, because we have a pretty good plan and we have a pretty good game model against elite clubs. Like, this is probably the kiss of death going into the weekend now, but like Arteta's record is unfathomably good against the top six. Our issue is beating the shit out of Leeds, like, and crushing Leeds. And so you have Gyökeres to stomp. Like, that's why the argument that Gyökeres scored a lot of goals against, he did score against in the Champions League, and he didn't score as many goals against the three other good teams in Portugal, and scored a ton of goals against the shit kickers. But like, somebody still has to go and just tear them like through them like wet paper and kick the ball into the goal. Like, not everybody can do that. And if you're trying to juggle your way in and you're playing against a really functional team that's trying to kneecap you the whole time, because that's the only thing they can do to stop you. If you're not kind of a pretty bad dude, like, that's not going to go very well for you. And so, yeah, like, okay, great. And also another thing, Gyökeres, he scored like 28 of his 29 professional penalties because he just kicks the fucking ball really hard in the net. And if you kick it really hard in most of the goal, like, it's going to go in because you're like 8 yards away from him. So like, all of that stuff, there are enough, especially with like Madueke and Saka and Odegaard, and like, now there's enough like there's enough designers to make the room, make the building beautiful. We need the fucking battering ram to take the old piece of shit down and lift the heavy stuff up there. Because I've lived through Arsene Wenger where we had 10 artists and no labor. we and Gyökeres is up again. The best comp that I can say it's really Inter Lukaku. That's the ideal thing, where we have this guy who's just holding up the ball and it's lumpy and whatever, and just runs fucking through you, and you got to tackle him to bring him down, or you got to hack him down. Otherwise, he's going to get off a shot, and that's it.
It reminds me of the evolution that City just went through 2 years ago with Haaland, where they went from Jesus, which is what we just did, went from Jesus to a guy who doesn't contribute a ton other than end product galore. Yeah. I mean, if Haaland doesn't score, he's ambiguous. You don't notice him. You go, what did he do? What did he do for
Gyökeres completed 5 passes.
Exactly.
And he scored 2 goals.
And he scored 2 goals, right? But that's exactly what Haaland does, and I think that's
Saliba completed 118
that we've had to go through. What, Kelly?
Saliba, I think, completed 118 passes.
and
Gyökeres completed 5.
If I could say a little something about Gyökeres there, I also feel like if we give him that service, that type of service that he can just run with the ball, like you said, do what he does. If he doesn't score that, if for some reason the keeper guesses near post and has to parry that out. We had a lot of runners crash in the box that it very well could have ended up in the back of the net anyway. So potentially moving forward, if we play that way a lot with him, then, even if his conversion rate isn't spectacular, which it probably will be, he seems to be a hell of a finisher. But even if, there's a parry or he hits the post or he gets tackled and the ball spills out and pinballs around a little bit, we've got a lot of crashers, and Saka probably as a Odegaard, potentially even, Rice or Zubimendi or whatever. So we could win that second ball or third ball or whatever and the goals will come from that. But just getting him into those positions, pretty important. I have to say, I feel like I didn't watch nearly as much of him in Portugal as everyone else probably did, but my impression of him seemed to be that they had him running at goal a little bit more than we'll have the opportunity to do because of how teams tend to play against us. So I am curious to see how he is going to, or how him and Arteta have decided to overcome that, and how he'll develop his game for us to meet us halfway, because we can't just, like in any relationship, you can't have one party giving 100% and the other party giving nothing. So we're compromising our setup style of play that we've been very, very well versed in over the last few seasons. And we're saying, okay, we'll adapt to you to help you do what's functionally best for the squad and score goals, and we'll set you up. But you also have to meet us a little bit of the way as well. So I'm kind of intrigued to see how his game is going to go in that regard, and what he becomes for us. But I think the just getting him into those positions to be able to shoot, if you put the ball on frame, something's going to happen. We'll probably get another chance at it. So whether there's a save or not.
Yeah. Again, utilitarian is a word that I'm going to use to describe him. Kelly mentions his penalty, no nonsense, strikes it with a lot of force down. Very early in the game, he missed this one, but he had a toe poke from a ball that kind of just came at him unexpectedly.
Oh, yeah.
The commentator was kind of beating him up, he's not aware of where he's at. He could have stopped. And he was already kind of half tracking back, and the ball, went his way. And he turned around and just again, he doesn't give a shit about finessing guys. He's if I could toe poke this fucking thing, the goalkeeper will never see this thing coming at this distance. And I'm sure like you said, ultimately he's going to score a lot of goals and nobody's going to give a shit. But I might be the first person to hate watch his own striker in a positive way, because every time he touches the ball, I'm going to say, why are you not doing this gratefully? Because, I'm going to be difficult. What can I say? That's what I'm going to go with. One thing that was very, welcoming news, if you will, talk about positive. And I kind of floated this a little bit earlier in the podcast, John, where I said that Chris and I predictions are already looking really bad. And one of the things that we predicted was over under on the Max Dowman appearances within the league. Chris, you might have them handy. You might not have it handy. I want to say they were at 5.5.
I'll find it.
Thank you. You could confirm it was 5.5 or 7.5. I want to say that's the realm in which we established it. Almost 30 full minutes, John. Let's not discuss what we were doing at the age of 15, boys. But I think it's a safe bet that we weren't featuring an English Premier League team in the first division of English football. The size of the club of Arsenal. Speak for yourselves. Of the size of Arsenal, challenging for a title. This was kind of an all-around feel-good moment. Between the announcement, we'll discuss that a little bit earlier. The goal. I mean, other than the two shit injuries that we ended up picking up, I mean, Max Dowman is just so impressive. Any specific takeaways that you have of that young man and able to win us the penalty? Just absolutely astounding, John.
Okay. Before I go to Max Dowman, I was going to say that You know what? Yeah, let me just move on to Max. Sorry. Yeah, he completely forgot. But yeah, no, he was impressive. I mean, he lived up to the occasion. It's he's like been hyped up a lot, obviously, but he's everything that they're hyping him up to be, and more, in my opinion. The confidence, you can tell that the rest of the squad appreciates the confidence that he has. You know, they are willing to help him. They know that he wants to contribute, and I think it's pretty impressive that he is coming in to matches already and doing what he's doing. He has a very, very quick step. Sometimes it's so much when I'm watching it, I'm just like, I'm still in shock when I see him, because his first step from like just a slower moving position, when he's just kind of like teasing the defender a little bit, man, he's something. And he's a little bit like, especially when that shot that he had, he just tried to leather the fuck out of it, put a little bit of curl on it. He'll rein that in a little bit over time, but man, once he zones in and once he starts to develop, he's going to be something. But it was nice between the occasion, with the stadium and Eze coming and everything. It was nice to have everything happen right on that day. He's going to be impressive, but I think we will need to manage him, because with Wanyeri, we saw, that he dipped a little bit in form as well, as that post introduction where you break into the scene and you do really, 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 really well. And then there's a little kind of plateau a little bit, and you kind of get your feet back in it, and we're starting to see Wanyeri pick up a little bit more again, which is good. So there will be highs and lows, but so far only highs for Max Dowman.
And we take those highs. And unfortunately for Chris, he gets to cover the lows. Before we move on, I got to tell you, again, occasionally I do this. Comment of the night, guys, Sporty J. You're doing great, new Sebi.
Thank you.
Well played.
John, that's definitely a compliment. If you can,
I just fucked up because
I
what's up? Sorry.
I was gonna say, if you can pull a story out where you like end up like getting tea on a street corner in New York for like David Seaman when he was resting an ankle injury after he got run over by a taxi, then you're going to be in business. So that's like a Sebi thing.
One thing I can promise you is that I am nowhere near as interesting as Sebi. Nowhere near as interesting.
Who is?
I'm convinced that the Dos Equis guy, the most interesting man, he's
actually Sebi. Yeah,
I mean, he's based on him. Has to be, man. Just absolutely has to be. Sebi had a story for everything. But yeah, that new Sebi thing, man. I mean, we teased you early on, and then Sparty J came in with it. It just gave me a good laugh. Hey, Chris, because I like to be honest, guys. I like to be honest with some of these opinions, because some people I feel like they're like, nah, if I say this, people are going to call me crazy. And rightfully so on this one, because I'm admitting that they're irrational thoughts that I have. But it's probably more based on the frustrations that I've had gone through in the last couple of seasons, Chris. I'm getting to a point where, like, when a player gets injured, I'm generally upset at the player. It makes no fucking sense, Chris. Like, I tongue in cheek made a joke. I think it was Phil Costa talking about saying he was referring to a Gabriel Jesus post saying, no doubt about it, I'm 100% ready to be hurt.
And you're like,
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just replied and I said, so is he. Because
I'd like to report a murder.
Dude, like, literally, like, Saka goes down and he's grabbing his leg, and I'm like, God damn it, what's wrong with you? And so,
get up, man.
Contact sport, completely irrational. I just thought, hey, dear listeners, never see I'm not an honest man. If I got a dumb thought in my head, I'm sharing that dumb thought. That is for sure. But we call this podcast Bittersweet for a reason, Chris. We spoke about all the highs: Max Dowman, 5 goals, David Raya, new Sebi. And now, unfortunately for us, we are going to have to talk about two big injury blows going into Anfield. But I got to say, man, our squad is flipping loaded, Chris. And somebody pointed something out that we hadn't seen, and it was a point of discussion. You guys know I dragged this on in summertime a lot, where I was discussing whether Mikel Arteta was going to use his bench or whether he was doing that. I'm stubborn, and there's only 13 players that I actually play. And in the last two games, he had the opportunity. There's been 5 subs both games, so he's using this bench, which is incredibly encouraging. But I don't know if it's so much previewing Anfield, but how are you feeling about the injuries? Are you feeling a whole lot more relieved, and it's not that much of a downer for you now, knowing that we have so much squad depth, Chris?
I mean, Arteta's busting a ton of myths, because the other myth that was out there was that he never played kids, and yet he's given two Arsenal players the 2 youngest Premier League debuts ever in Dowman and Waneri. So I mean, I think at one point in that game we had 3 18 or younger players on the pitch at the same time. So
2 18-year-olds and a 15-year-old in a Premier League match.
I wonder if that's ever been done before. I have no idea. Someone asked ChatGPT. We'll see. Your question about how do I feel about Anfield in light of our injuries. If it was 2 injuries to 2 other players, maybe outside of Rice and Saliba, I'd be like, whatever. I do think you have to be a bit concerned about Saka, only because he is our talisman. And while we are really excited about what Gyökeres did in this game, you feel like, perhaps Eze comes on and plays. If he doesn't start, he plays certainly meaningful minutes at Anfield, and you got to get excited about that because he's got end product, he's got creativity. At the end of the day, how many times have we said in this podcast, if Saka doesn't do something, we don't score. And I'm not convinced yet that this team has another guy like Saka that can just show up and go, I'm taking this game by the scruff of the neck and I'm putting a goal in the back of the net. It might be Gyökeres. It might be somebody else. It might be 5 or 6 different guys, because now we've got so much more talent on the pitch, but we haven't seen it yet. And so until we see that, and we see that quite consistently, I think you have to be just a bit concerned about going into Anfield without Saka. Having said that, and I know John is a huge fan of Madueke, I thought he was okay on the left. I thought it was like someone put batteries in him and put him on fast forward, because when you put him on the right-hand side, he looked like he was playing in fast forward. I don't know how else to say it. He was dribbling through people. He looked more confident. He looked more like secure in what he was doing. He looked more single-minded and focused and direct. And that's nothing to say about how he played in the left, but he just looks so much more comfortable and natural on the right. And so I would assume that he's probably going to start on the right, just because I think we bought him primarily to be Saka's deputy. And because Saka will likely not play at Anfield, I think that's his starting spot this weekend. The more interesting question is, what do we do on the left then? And does Martinelli come back in? Because we need somebody that can run the channels both defensively and offensively, because Salah's on that side. Could be an option. Do we think about putting Eze out there and playing around with what he looks like on the left? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe that's not the game for it, since it's it's a 6-pointer against probably our closest rivals right now for the title. And then the rumors is that Odegaard's injury isn't as severe as maybe we had once thought. So it's possible that he just needs some injections, some pain injections, and he'll be good to go. If he doesn't play, who plays that position? Maybe Eze plays more centrally for Odegaard. Maybe Waneri plays. Who knows, right? I think it's going to be some interesting.
That's what I was thinking.
Interesting squad decisions, but the point being, Mike, and this is the reason why you brought up the question, is we have options now. We don't have to play a very functional Mikel Merino at 8 if we don't want to. Maybe we will.
We're center forward
for it, but I don't think that's what I would do. But we're not in other words, we're not forced to play him there because he's the only guy left standing. We've got options.
If I could
and I think that's what makes it's going to make it so hard for Liverpool to plan for us, is that they don't know what's coming at them next week. They have no clue who's starting where in our front five. No clue. They probably know who's starting our back four, not our front five.
Yeah. Quick little note is, it's funny that last season we would have come away from a match where we lost Saka and Odegaard immediately after the match to an unknown amount of time, that we lost both of those players. We would have been in an absolute fucking nuclear meltdown, ready to burn the world apart. And now, flash forward, it actually happened, and it's not even the thing that we talked about the most after the match. Mm-hmm. We talked about, the signing. We talked about Max Dowman's performance. We talked about beating Leeds, all up and down the pitch. And we do talk about the injuries, but it's not the very first thing, and it's not just, complete head loss. So it's good that we do have options now that we feel comfortable with. And like you said, when Madueke went over to the right, he did come to life. I feel like, while I may potentially be able to see him, or would have thought I would have seen him on the left before the Eze signing, it would have taken time to develop. It's not something that he's done a lot before, so he could have potential there, but he has to work on it. Whereas the right side is more natural to him. It's plug and play, boom, and he's rolling. So I do think we'll miss Saka at Anfield if he doesn't play, if there's no mind games in this or whatever. But if Saka does not play, I don't feel catastrophically bad, because I feel like Madueke has something to prove, and he knows, and he's ready for it. And I feel like he's poised to have a really good match at Anfield. I feel like he really wants to come in and earn something there and help us out. So I think the left is the biggest question mark that'll come up in the media this week. That's what they'll be hitting hard before the match. It's going to get beat to death, but it's pretty much Martinelli, Trossard, Eze off the left, because I feel like if just Saka's out, we may not see Eze. But I feel like if Saka and Odegaard are both out, we'll have to see Eze. Mikel Arteta is just going to put him in fucking wild card and say, go on, do your thing, create some chaos.
And remember last season, Saliba comes into that game not playing because he was on a red card. So we couldn't even play Saliba back there. And we had that game won if it wasn't for a brain fart.
Yeah.
Where I think Salah equals the game, and it ends 2-2 in a draw at Anfield. I mean, my recollection was that we were the better team that day, and we were nowhere near the squad that we have now. So, and you could make the argument that they're not either. I mean, they've got Verts and Ekitike and two new fullbacks, and so they've got a renewed squad as well. But I do like our chances, even with Saka missing and potentially Odegaard, for us to go in there and really put it on them.
I will say, I don't get to often get a lot of things right, Chris. A lot of positive things right.
True.
I'll say true.
You get tons of stuff right. It's just never positive.
Yeah, it's not the positive one. I will say this because we had a long discussion when Nani Madueke signed, and everybody was losing their minds, saying 55 for a backup. And one line that I remember telling you both, you go, hey, you guys, you know when nobody's going to give a shit about his price is when Saka pulls a hammy. And here we are about to play Liverpool in a few days. Saka potentially not available, and this is exactly why you bring in a talented forward to cover for somebody, because this way the drop and the managing of key players in your squad, it's substantially easier. To John's point, guys, I mean, Kai Havertz's already out. We would have been losing our shit with just him. Imagine we lose both Odegaard and Saka just back to back, and we're visiting Anfield. Like a 90+% of our fan base, including myself, would be like, well, that's fucking game as far as going forward. So hopefully if we don't concede, we walk out of Anfield with a 0-0. Now, again, I'm insanely and uncharacteristically think I nailed that one. Positive about the potential game versus Anfield. But it's probably just because of all the good vibes and hype that's going around the club right now. And I got to tell you, man, I'm probably going to sit back and shut up for a few windows because I think there was a lot of positives. And again, I understand that somebody could sit back and say, hey, Mike, but our outgoings, how the shit did we not get 40 for Kivior, 70 for Martinelli, whatever, 10 for Sambi, so on and so on. And I understand how important that is for a club like Arsenal that is self-sustaining to continue to operate. But I can't find myself being upset about the players that are not on the pitch because of the players that we're seeing on the pitch, because of the players that we're seeing on the bench. I can't find the negative in this window. I'm going to give it we're not rating the win or anything, but I'm giving it a 10 for 10, and my mouth is shut because I think to myself, what do we need next summer? Fuck, I don't know what do we need. Unless somebody wants to leave the club, I don't see a reason why to purchase another player unless like some opportune shit happens in which we're like, oh, okay, that player is once again, here's my transition, boys, once again picking up his cell phone, calling the manager saying, please, is there any chance that I could arrive at the club instead of the alternative universe that leads me to Spurs? Which leads us to our next talking point.
Radioactive Spurs. Amazing.
Radioactive Spurs. Everett Chieze, bro. What a heartwarming, beautiful introduction that was to bring him back at the carpet. I saw this quote, Kelly, before you kind of give your 2 cents about it. It was like a transfer essentially that took 20 years. It was a 20-year transfer, as I like to say, and it was just a quote from Everett Chieze saying, I remember the day I got released, my mom said a prayer. She was praying that the reverse would happen. For me, this is a realization of a prayer that we prayed for 20 odd years ago. This is deeper than anybody can understand. I know it's meant to be.
Oh.
And what an absolute gem of a human being this person is coming out to be. You could tell the type of human being that he is based on how the Crystal Palace supporters are speaking about him. We speak about this. We talk about this about Timber a lot, right?
Yeah.
The farewell grieving that they gave. What an absolute moment. I got to tell you, no Twitter hype video could have outdone this for me personally. Talk to me about this, Kelly.
So we're a club, I think, that prides ourselves on being, I mean, not doing things the right way, but I think we know that we're appreciative of our history. We feel like we hold ourselves to a different standard of maybe not less so of playing, because I think that was more of an Arsene Wenger thing, the idealized playing style, but more of like how you treat people. You'll take a little less money to send Kivior to the club that he wants to go to, rather than force him to go make 5 million more, like the anti-Chelsea, right? Who's just basically like an athlete farm, who doesn't treat their athletes like people. They treat them like commodities that are to be bought and sold and not considered, right? Like, or again, or United, who lump all these expectations on their players and then just boo them mercilessly when they're not getting supports. Like, you kind of go through all the top teams again. City, who is just a sport. You're just part of a sports washing vehicle. You kind of go down. We hold ourselves to a different standard, right? And this is the type of person that our fan base responds to. The people who truly want to be here and have a deep personal connection and a depth of personality. We love our Arsenal players that can go on TV like Martin Odegaard or Declan Rice and speak eloquently about a number of topics. And again, we have that special connection to London, right? So he's from South London. And so when he comes on there, for him to be able to just like sit down with Ian Wright and just chop it up with Ian Wright and do the same thing that Ian Wright does that makes us love Ian, is that he gets directly from what we're talking about. He gets to his heart and opens it very quickly and very honestly and earnestly. That's something that we really, really, really respond to as Arsenal fans. But that's also like, if that's the type of person you are, you're going to love this club because you feel emotionally and spiritually connected to what the ethos of the club is. And I think maybe the modern ethos is maybe as far back as I go, maybe starts with more Ian Wright and Tony Adams and those kind of hard on their sleeve guys. But it's how can you not? It's the old Moneyball quote. It's like, how can you not be romantic about Arsenal? Like when somebody talks to you like that, you're telling us everything we want to hear, but we believe him too. And that's the biggest thing, is that when he's saying these things, it's not I'm deleting a bunch of tweets because I'm saying all I wanted my entire life was to play for Aston Villa. Like nobody fucking says that.
It's like
Like
when
people from Birmingham don't
Oscar
say
went
that.
to the Chinese league, and he's like, "I always dreamt about this." I'm like,
I always dreamt of making $600,000 a week tax free. Like you feel like I think I said on the back channel, like watching this stuff, is that because I wasn't super from a sporting perspective. It's like my idea is we have limited resources, and they could be appropriated differently than to have this guy be the marquee thing. I love him, great player, but like we would like to do another left wing ball. But it's like he called Mikel Arteta because he was sitting there staring at Tottenham, and he hates Tottenham because he's an Arsenal fan. He doesn't want to go there, so he calls Arteta. Arteta pulls him in and pitches it to Josh, and Josh pitches it to the board, and they take it. And it's like it's very much like it has all the buildup and the lead up of like Sol Campbell Part 2, where it's going in and it's not just like a monumental player that changes the trajectory of your team and your accomplishment because he's truly a great player, but one that actively and hilariously fucks over Spurs in a way that makes everybody laugh at them and takes their standing down and like literally makes them way worse for him not being on their team. And now, like, I think there is a knock-on effect because them tripping at the line and Arsenal coming and getting Eze, and then Eze basically just spending the next week talking about how much he wanted this and needed this and loved this and everything. It makes them look so bad that when they're going for Piero Hincapié, who doesn't have any sort of connection to Spurs, I probably don't want to go. Like, they seem like they're kind of assholes over there, don't they? Like, nobody likes them. They're just making fun of them. Like, I don't know if I want to go play there.
I want to play with Richarlison.
Play with Richarlison and listening to Mickey Van de Ven's sprinting stats and again, what's so funny about this whole thing too is that Spurs just beat City, like handled City. Who's there? I mean, they're their bogey team, but like went and beat City. All anybody's talking about in relation to Spurs is that Arsenal went and yanked Eze from him, and now Hincapié heard that he might be going to Spurs. And he immediately goes, nope, back up for Arsenal, love it. Do it. Come get me. I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to sit here until you sell some people. I'm not going there. Like, I'm good. Just come and get me when you're ready. Thanks, guys. Like,
your life is good, and then you hear you might be going to Spurs.
Yep, you'll know the Maria quote. We play. What is it? Something to the effect of
you're doing everything right. Yeah.
You think you work
so much when you work so hard, and you hear news like this.
Yeah, you think you're doing everything right, and then you hear you might be going to Spurs. Like, it's so funny because they thought so much that was it 2 seasons they finished ahead of Arsenal, or 3 seasons they thought that the wins had forever changed, and like just flips and the door slams shut in the most hilarious way possible after they get the stadium and like all of this shit. And oh man, it's just so good. They're second in the league to Arsenal naturally on goal difference, and they've had a good start to the season, and they have a legitimately good manager now, and they're still gonna fuck it up because it's Spurs. And it's so funny that it's not just them losing players, it's them losing the players they desperately need directly to Arsenal. And they're publicly saying, nope, no, don't send me there. Nope, don't want to go there. I'll wait here. I'll be a backup. I don't need playing time. I don't need any of that. I just, no, I'm not going to you. No. It's so, it makes again, for somebody who loves to ruin things and loves when things are sad for people and things that I don't like, it's just the best kind of news you'll ever see. So fun.
Kelly, one of the things you intimated about our club right now is that one word that's used to describe it often is family.
Mm-hmm.
And people describe it that way. I mean, I think you get the sense that like it's as a almost spiritual home, and then he gets here and it feels like home because he's surrounded by just not only the fact that he's realized his boyhood dream, but also a place that treats its players like it's a family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a lot of value to that. I mean, every time we score a goal, there's a coming together, there's a huddle, everybody's hugging everybody. I remember the days of Emery and late stage Wenger where someone would score a goal and they'd turn around and wait for the rest of their team to celebrate with them, and no one was coming to celebrate with them. It felt very much like a bunch of players playing for themselves, and everybody was down bad because we weren't winning anything. We weren't qualifying for Champions League. We were falling down the table, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The downside of that is that players don't want to leave even when you want them to go, because it's comfortable here. And I don't mean comfortable in that it's not competitive, that it's not sometimes cutthroat, that it's not maybe even like emotionally unsatisfying. But the fact that you're paid well here, you're treated well here, we don't treat you like cattle, we don't treat you like a commodity like you might be treated at Chelsea. And I think when we think about what we need to do to sell players moving forward, and I think Berta's got a big challenge on his hands, but I trust that once we get, and I think Sophie said this in the chat, once he gets players in that he's bought, maybe there's a bigger assurance that the quality we're buying is going to be easier to sell. But I do think that 90% of this being or the fact that we're a family atmosphere is 90% good, but I think the 10% of it that's bad is the part when you need to push someone out or you need to get someone out the door and you can't convince them to leave because they just love it here too much. And luckily for us, it's working overtime for us in the positive, for Eze, for new players. I mean, you look at, if you just started following Arsenal this year and you had no idea who was in the team last year, you couldn't tell who the new guys were.
No.
By watching, because it just looks like these guys are together. It looks like these guys know each other, root for each other, support each other on and off the pitch. It looked like they're friendly. I mean, I just was looking at one of our back channels. I pulled up this picture. This is Kivior and Calafiore with Arteta's kids. This doesn't scream family. I don't know what does, but you don't. Maybe these pictures exist for other clubs. I don't follow other clubs that closely, but this just screams to me like the kind of togetherness that you see. And this is a player, Kivior, who's going out the door soon. He's going to be going to Portugal within the next week, probably. And yet, this is a place that this kind of stuff happens.
Big Gabby had his daughter was his mascot this weekend too. He was carrying his daughter out to the pitch, and it's all that stuff is, again, I think if you're cynical, and again, Win the dog, we have our chocolate lab dog there that everybody's introduced as part of their
another artifact that feels like a family.
Yeah, like a cynical person could say that this is like Arteta reading every management book on earth and creating an us versus them insular family atmosphere so that people will give him 5% more. I believe it. And I guess I'm somebody who's relatively skeptical about just about everything too. Like, I'm a relatively crabby, cynical person. And my read is that even not every person is going to be able, like a family, right? Not everybody's going to be able to live up to their obligations. But as oftentimes with family, you can kind of love them anyway, and you work together to get the best out of them, whatever the best is for them. And that can elevate people and make them better than they would be otherwise. And we're in a sport of fine margins where there's a lot of players on the pitch, and there's a lot of coaches, and there's a lot of trainers, and we've all been in organizations where the vibes are bad, and the culture is poor. And I think that you will do well to genuinely try to create a real family atmosphere to the extent that you can do that in that kind of a business. And it will get far better returns than you will by creating a business atmosphere or an atmosphere of instability. And even think about this too, from a player, if you're trying to recruit players that are in their prime and they have all these personal and professional aspirations, Arsenal keeps managers for a long time. So when Arteta's pitching you something, it means that Arteta is going to, the odds are that Arteta is going to be there in 3 or 4 years as you finish your time with the club. Like that is important, because look at Manchester United, which is like, ha, ha, ha. People who are bought recently and paid a huge amount of money and given a ton of responsibility, they don't even play the same formation anymore. And in fact, they play a formation that may not be able to be played with their talent level in the Premier League. And they might,
there are
guys,
their fourth manager. It's crazy.
Yeah, they might be in their fifth by Christmas. They might be in their fifth manager in like 3 seasons since these guys were signed for huge amounts of money, and now they're like that's the type that is a pure club. That is more than a pure. That is a superior club to us in reputation and finances and all that type of stuff. And they're going down the shitter, and they can't go. And even like teams that ostensibly are succeeding, right? Who's basically succeeded above what Arsenal has succeeded? It's Liverpool, who are an exceptionally well-run club, who I think have gotten exceptionally fortunate in a lot of ways to achieve what they have achieved, especially in the last couple of years. And City, who's a bunch of cheats and have been spectacular cheats for the last decade and a half. So, I mean, we don't have more money than God like City, and we didn't invent everything that exists on the planet like Liverpool did. But I mean, I think we do have there's a very, very strong culture that appeals to the right type of player that you would want to employ and want to have on your side. And like it's like the old Band of Brothers. Like you kind of have the people who you want to be in the foxholes. Not everybody can be in there with you. Not everybody can handle it. But the people who are in there, you'd never want to have somebody else in there with you. I think there's a little bit of that, and it's maybe some self-aggrandizement and maybe some cope on our hands, because we have a lot of very, very good vibes and a lot of very good players, but we haven't quite got where we need to go. But the idea of doing it in the way that we do it is that if you do it for long enough, you will achieve the things that you want to achieve. It's even if you have shit luck, you may only achieve it once, but you only need to achieve things one time, and it'll be fine.
You know, I can kind of liken the squad a little bit to like a military kind of ranking system, because you've seen that players that aren't very responsible and don't have a lot of integrity and don't have that extra professionalism to, again, referencing like Saka and Raya, who have found deficiencies in their games and went on to try and make themselves better and correct it. If you think about military rankings, everybody knows like sergeants, right? And sergeants are like the managers of the day-to-day functions and activities. And they're, you know, who you go to for discipline, who you go to, your first line of contact for any happenings whatsoever in your department or throughout the day or whatever. So Mikel Arteta seems to like to have all of the players who he rotates as our main players, most of our starters and the key bench players are all sergeants. He does not want any junior enlisted. He doesn't want anybody. Those people are the rotational players that get the least amount of time while they're learning it. But he's very structured in that regard, where every player in our squad is confident, is given a job to do, feels responsible, has integrity, and manages their personal life well, manages, you know, themselves well, and very presentable, charismatic. And that's why our squad fits together so well. And like I think it was Kelly said a little bit ago, you know, you wouldn't be able to, or maybe Chris, you wouldn't be able to pick out who the new players were and who they, you know, if you didn't watch and you weren't familiar. So that's why everybody's kind of come in and, you know, fit in straight away. And Eze will be same. He'll go in straight away and be ready. But we've done a good job of having that structure. And Arteta's brain for that kind of stuff was so important for our club after the chaos of having Emery there. While he was a good kind of tactician and he had a good gusto to try and get something done, but he failed in the regard of having players be more responsible and, like, we know how that went. So
Yeah.
that's Arteta's thing, and it's helped us out a lot. And that kind of squad cohesion is, one of the main reasons that anybody would be attracted to come and play for the club if presented with an offer.
And I think it probably speaks well of how high level so far peak Arteta would be considered like the last probably 2 seasons, right? This kind of peak Arteta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How he is spoken of and how the Arsenal project and Arsenal as a club is thought of through recruitment, I think. Because even you go to like last year and we didn't have as good of a season on the pitch as we did the previous year. But I think our success in all we had to do, I think, to have this type of recruiting summer was just spend roughly what our peer clubs would. That's all we had to do is do about what they were doing, and the club sells itself. If you're willing to go after the type of players consummate with our position and make the type of financial investment consummate with our goals, you don't have to be City. You don't have to pay City or United wages. You don't have to do the Chelsea and just pay 150% of your value and give you a 7-year contract that basically forces the club to sell you and forces the player to sign with you. It's like, holy shit, my floor is like a well-paid professional no matter how bad I fuck this up for like the rest of my professional career. Basically, it's like a wonderful insurance policy that I can be a complete asshole or be like Wesley Fofana and get injured like 3 times. It doesn't matter. He's going to make $80K a week until he's 32 years old. So it doesn't matter. That's tremendous insurance, right? But just doing what our peer clubs do, which is like roughly the 2nd to 5th best or richest club in there. If we just live up to the resources we have an insanely compelling project that those not ready-made superstars, but that next tier of really, really good players that have superstar potential or in the right system could be elite all-world players. Those players will choose Arsenal because of all the things we talked about, the history, the stadium, the culture, living in London, living in an affluent part of London that's safe and welcoming to families. And you can bring your kids and you can, again, point to this history and point to this kind of class club. All of those things help make sure that, again, that Eze goes to Arsenal instead of to Spurs, that Hincapie goes here instead of trying to go to Bayern. And you can just keep going, and Gyökeres pushes and make sure he doesn't get held hostage for a wasted half season before accepting a move to Aston Villa or something like that. All of those things go to, I think, the club. And also, could we have possibly thought that Berta could do better than he's doing now? Because it very well could be that Josh is taking control and is like, listen, we got to spend money to make money here. We've been very frugal. Now is our winning window. And so let's push all in and kind of match what the other clubs are doing. Could be that, but I would argue that Berta's doing a hell of a job of working efficiently in the market. Again, we haven't seen the outgoings yet, but as far as recruitment, we've literally never had a summer like this. And if Hincapie does actually come and it's only going to cost us a sensible Zinchenko sale and then about market value sale for Kiwior, that's a 2-for-1 trade you do every single day of the week and twice on Sunday. So even that, it's just one of those things where I think we've been very, very well run and we've had really immaculate vibes, but we just haven't had the bodies to do what we need to do. And this is the first time since I'm almost 40 years old. This is the first time since I've been a fan of Arsenal that it really appears like we're doing everything that we can do.
Hincapie is a bit of a madman, isn't he?
Oh, he's fucking crazy. You will love him, but he will do something insane. He will go and punch Richarlison. And I would take that red card all day, every day too.
So reminiscent of the Kai tackle against Newcastle on the touchline. We're gonna see because we got a few players that can get in the mix now. You know what I mean? We got Kai loves a good mixer, and then now Hincapie too. Shit, man. We're going to be scrapping a little bit.
He will do something insane and get sent off, by the way, if and when he comes. He is going to do something nuts. You're going to go, okay, I guess he's not playing for a couple matches now.
Wow.
So just be ready. He's going to do crazy stuff on the ball. He's going to make hero tackles, but he is going to do a leg breaker on somebody that makes no sense at all and will get sent off. So just prepping everybody for that. He's going to do some insane shit. He doesn't kick the ball in his own net very often, though, which is nice. Like, because I think another player that we've talked about is the Dortmund center back question. No, they're a fucking failed club now too. I can't. Who's somebody in the chat? The guy who looks like he's in Hitler Youth for Dortmund. Anybody?
I'm relying on you guys on that one because, as you guys know, I don't watch too much from other.
Anyway, the current left-sided center half for Dortmund is very much in this very, very talented. Probably could play left back in like the Arteta system, but man, Nico Schlotterbeck will turn around and fire the ball into his own goal way too often. Like just insane stuff where he'll like just completely lose the match for you on his own. Yeah, it's Schlotterbeck. And I don't think Hincapié has that as much. He can be South American violent. Sorry, Mike, but not like destructive. I'm going to ruin this match all on my own out of nowhere for you. If he goes through somebody's leg, they probably deserve it. He's probably protecting one of his teammates, and we'll probably be like, yeah, okay.
I feel like you had the Hincapié thing loaded up and just were ready to get that one out, Kelly. So I had to let you do it. But yeah. I'm curious. I'm just waiting for that to become like confirmed. I like to do the whole Mikel Arteta thing. I don't talk about players that aren't at our club currently, so I'm just gonna let that go. But sooner or later, we'll see if it gets confirmed. Everything is looking like it will. We're gonna end it there. And since you guys mentioned Manchester United. Thoughts and prayers to Bruno Fernandes, who was savagely attacked by a teammate, the ref, of course. Prior to the
I didn't know where you were going with that one. I like that.
Okay. Chris, do you want to tell the dear listeners where they can find you, sir?
Yeah, West Suburban AFC. Best known for banter online with, I don't know, whoever shows up in my feed. Nobody's spared from my wrath.
Banter and debating.
And I feel like if we win this weekend at Anfield, I'm turning it up like to level 10 volume because I've had it with Liverpool fans online, to be honest with you. So, find me there if that's what you're into. If not, no big deal. I totally get that that's an acquired taste for some.
Yeah, I might mute you myself.
Block me, please.
Yeah, I might if they do end up. Just real quick, I want to give Sophie a shout out. It says, "Hi, Bury Squad." I did a piece with Kevin Hatchard earlier today, and we discussed Hincapié, the left back position, and Miles Lewis-Skelly in midfield. He had a great insight on the player. So if you want a little bit more information on him, she says it's in the video section because you do have to switch between live tabs and video tabs on YouTube's. Most likely, knowing Sophie, well worth the watch, I was going to say, but listen to them in audio platforms if you want to. Kelly, you want to tell dear listener where they can find you?
At South Metro AFC. Again, I'm mostly banter, but in and out of a lot of different stuff, mostly football related. And now, forgive me, everybody, professional wrestling to some degree too. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Magic Mike, wherever you are. I blame this on you. My wife finds me far less attractive now, so thank you.
Less attractive. And last but not least, John, thank you so much for joining us. It was a little short notice, but man, I was so happy that I was able to get you on stream. You want to tell everybody where they can find you, my friend?
Yeah, thanks for having me again. I appreciate it. At Arsenal Nova, I'm very boring. If you're looking for any kind of content from me, not going to happen. I don't think I've tweeted like maybe one tweet. What Kelly's doing right now is way funnier than anything you'll ever see from me on the public TL. Most of my stuff occurs in a group chat. But hey, if you want to scream at me or call me a name or something, by all means, tag me.
By all means, thank you. Oh yeah, Kelly's been on the Gyökeres thing before it was cool. Before he was actually doing it.
I mean, for like 2 years.
All out of his chair. Not careful. We're gonna hear a thud.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have been Mike Hers, your host for the night. You can find the podcast on YouTube, as you know. Live chat, you have been absolutely awesome. Audioheads, if you want to listen to us and not actually watch the goofballs that we are and watch Kelly's mannerisms, feel free to tune in on us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. Until next time, boys, hopefully positive news after the weekend. Cheers.
Right foot this time, Martin Odegaard.
Zinchenko from Ketia, it's in, it's 4. Martinelli tiptoeing in. Predatory, perfect. There is a gorgeous arrogance about Arsenal now.
It really is. They are enjoying every second of this.